All right, this is the quadratic equation 2 test review. I'm going to do a couple with you, and then you'll end up doing the rest on your own. At the end, I'll probably put up all the answers, though. So, simplify the following radicals. That means no decimals. It's probably best if you do have a calculator, your graphing calculator, like we've been using every day. Clear that out. So, it says no decimals. This is where we have to break it down into a factor tree. 10 times 2. 2 is prime, so we keep that one. 5 times 2. 2 and the 5 is prime. Shh, be quiet, please. So we're going, I don't really have enough room here. So that means the 5 goes in there and the 2 and the 2. So remember, 5 does not have another 5 with it, so it must stay inside of the radical. However, these two 2's can come together. However you learned it, one of them will end up getting out of wherever, the boat or the jail or whatever, and the other 2 was the one that disappeared and went away. So this is the 2 that came out, that's the 2 that disappeared. So the radical simplify would be 2 square root of 5. Yep. Remember, you can check your calculator by putting the square root of 20 in there and seeing what that decimal equals. And then if you also put 2 square root of 5 in there, you can make sure if the decimals match, that means, hey, you must have done that correctly. All right. Same thing here. You want to make sure you break down the 75, what times what, until you get the prime number. Same thing with the 92. Like I said, I'll probably put up the answers at the end. So this one here, this looks like somebody did some quadratic formula and then they just stopped. But once again, no decimals. So the 7's going to stay here, the 2's going to stay here, but what we need to do with this part is we need to break it down into our factor tree, 9 times 3, then a 3 times 3. We have to figure out what this is going to simplify to. So we got a 3, a 3, and a 3. So only 2 3's can try to leave at the same time. So one of the 3's will get out, then the other one disappeared. So this is the 3 that got out, so it's gone now, it's out. This one disappeared, but this 3 does not have a partner. It doesn't have a twin, or it doesn't have a match. So that's going to become 3 square root of 3. So this simplified answer will be 7 plus or minus 3 square root of 3 all over 2. The 7 stays and the 2 stays. Square root of 27 is what changed into...
So that's going to be the answer?
Yes, that's going to be the answer. For the simplified answer. That's like the exact answer. So I just want to highlight it because like this 27 right here is what turned into this 3 square root of 3. I don't know if that helps or if that makes it worse. I was trying to highlight it, but I couldn't find my highlighter. All right. So you're going to do the same thing with this one. Remember, the 5 stays up here, the 2 stays down here. What you need to do is take this square root of 8 and figure out what it's going to simplify to. The next part of the review wants you to solve the following by square root method. Square root method, if you remember, it is in the classroom on the board over here. You just have to decide whether it has parentheses or not. Okay? These ones do not have parentheses, so you follow the steps which are on the board. First step is there anything that you need to add or subtract? Remember, we're doing opposite. Second step is, do you need to divide by the coefficient? And then after that, you can square root both sides. A is pretty easy. If you look at the x squared, there's nothing getting added or subtracted from it, so there's no need to add or subtract. Skip that step. Is there any coefficient you need to divide by? No. So skip that step. For this one, you can just simply square root both sides. X equals. Now, this is the part where you got to figure out, do I really need to do all of this? Square root of 64. If you put it in your calculator and it's a whole number, good. You don't have to do all of this up here because it's a whole number, but don't forget it is a plus or minus 8, which means one of the solutions is a positive 8. The other solution is a negative 8. All right. Right here with this one, there's nothing that you need to add or subtract, so skip that step. However, there is a coefficient of 4. You need to divide both sides by 4. That becomes an invisible 1. Now I'm going to calculate 121 divided by 4.
30.5.
30.25. Yes, be careful. 30.25. And yes, we're going to have to take the square root of that decimal. So yeah, let's just use decimals. You cannot, I wouldn't even bother trying to break that down. So x equals plus or minus the square root of 30.25.
5.5.
And you get plus or minus 5.5. Yes, that means one answer is a positive 5.5. The other answer is a negative 5.5. And then you can try C by yourself. Hopefully you can try C by yourself. Okay. Number 3 says use the square root method to find the solutions to this. Once again, square root method is on the board in the class. Well, the steps are on the board in the classroom. You just have to see this time this is different because it has parentheses. This one did not. This one does have parentheses. Remember, if you're using square root method, you cannot add or subtract anything inside the parentheses. You're looking for something on the outside of the parentheses to add or subtract. Or this 4, how are we going to get rid of it? Divide both sides by 4. That becomes an invisible 1. So we're left with x plus 3 to the second power equals 9. Now wait a minute. Now that I started solving this, now that I'm looking at these answer choices, wait a minute.
You divided
Like
by
I
4?
yeah, divided by 4 because that was a coefficient. But wait a minute. I'm going to try to save some time here. Like I said, your STAR exam is coming up. Look at all these A, B, C, D answer choices. All of them are whole numbers. Let's just go ahead and put this in our calculator here. 4 in the y equals 4x plus 3 to the second power in the y1, and then the 36 in the y2. Please use your calculator to find answer. I need you guys to save a little bit of time here. So on this one, I'm hoping that you go ahead and use your y1 and y2 method. You got one of the answers. Yes, the answer should be D. One of them is x equals 0. And then the other one is negative 6. Okay. All right. So which equation is equivalent to this one? Okay, on this one, you cannot use calculator to help you because they're not actually asking you for a solution. They're asking you to figure out which two are equal. Any ideas on how to do that one? You need to use completing the square for this one. You do not have to do the full complete the square. You only need to do like the first 3 steps, and then you'll see that it will end up matching one of these. The whole point of complete the square is to make this a perfect square trinomial. So I have x squared plus 8x plus what is going to make that a perfect square trinomial, so then I can continue. How do you make a perfect square trinomial? We went over this 1,500 times. Take the b. What is the b? The b is 8 divided by 2. That's the rule. Always take the b divided by 2. You're going to end up with a number. Whatever number that is, you need to times it by itself, which means to square it. That tells you how to make the perfect square trinomial. So you should be adding what? 16 to both sides. Then this right here, how do I get it in its factored form? And then this, you can just combine those. So you know for sure that this needs to be a what? 20 over here. And then what is the rule for getting it factored really quick? A perfect square, you can factor it really quick. But what do you need to do?
Divide by 2.
Yes, divide the b just by 2 and then keep that. If this is positive, that better be positive. So now you should see your answer. And we just did the first 2 steps of complete the square. You should see your answer. Number 5, what would the value of c in the trinomial be in order for the trinomial to be a perfect square? Once again, they want you to put this and make it a perfect square. What needs to get added to make this a perfect square? Use this same method here. Take the b. What's the b? Negative 14. What's the rule? Divided by 2. You'll get a number. Whatever that number is, you need to multiply it times its exact self. You need to square it. That will tell you what to add to both sides. Negative 7 times negative 7. 49 is going to make that a perfect square trinomial. There's one just like that on the test. You just cannot forget the rule of take b, divide by 2, and square it. All right. Number 6. Now we're switching methods here because it says Sandy solved a quadratic equation by using the quadratic formula. And she got the answer. You should be happy. She's already solved it for you. They're telling you what answer she got. Which of the following shows Sandy's answer in simplified radical form? Simplified radical form is just like we did over here. When I said the 7 and the 2 are not going to change. We just need to figure out what this is going to simplify to. So in this case right here, the 9 and the 2 will not change. However, square root of 18, we need to do a factor tree and figure out what it's going to reduce to. Square root of 18, you can either use 9 times 2 or you can use 6 times 3. If you use 9 times 2, you should still end up with the same prime numbers, which is a 3, a 2, and a 3. However, only the 2 3s can break out together. The 2 does not have any twin or partner with it, so the 2 stays in, but these 2 3s are going to get together. One of them comes out, the other one is gone. So that's going to change to a 3 square root of 2. And then you should see your answer. This is called the exact answer. It's not really a decimal form or a rounded answer. You see your answer? B. Is B the answer? No, because it doesn't have divide by 2. I'm telling you, nothing's going to change except for that part right there. All right. Complete the square and then solve this. This is flipping it back to complete the square method. Complete the square. But it says complete the square for this by the square root method. Just start off with complete the square. Completing the square. Remember, the whole point of completing the square is to make a perfect square trinomial. So that means I need to get rid of this plus 22 by subtracting 22 to the other side. I need to make room for a new C value. I need to figure out what the C value is. You guys should hopefully know the rule for take the B. What do I do with the B? Divide it by 2. And then multiply it times itself. What am I going to add to both sides of this one? All right, 36 here, 36 here. And then this is going to become, since there's a minus here, that means it needs to be a minus in my factors. And half of that is 6. And this becomes a 14, if I remember from the other class. Yep, 14. Now we're at the step where how do we get rid of the power of 2? Square root both sides. So we got x minus 6 because the square root cancels the square equals square root of 14. But look at your answer choices. Do you really want to use a decimal? The answer choices don't use decimals, so I'm going to keep it as square root of 14. I didn't break square root of 14 down because it's 7 times 2. 7 and 2 are already prime. If I put a 7 and 2 in there, nobody breaks out. I got to multiply it back together. I end up with square root of 14 anyway. So keep square root of 14. So I got x minus 6 equals square root of 14, and x minus 6 equals a negative square root of 14. So what's going to happen when I'm solving for x? Did anybody already think they found the answer? If you're solving for x, how am I going to solve for x? I'm going to add 6. That means I need to have a positive 6 in my solution. Adding 6 over here. That means I'm looking for x to equal a positive 6 with a positive square root of 14 and x to have a positive 6 with a negative square root of 14. So which one of these answer choices has a positive 6? B has a positive 6 and C has a positive 6. But should I have a square root of 14 in it or a square root of 48? So that answer should definitely be B because square root of 48, I don't even know where they got that from. Yeah, so that's messed up. Number 8, they want you to solve this one using the quadratic formula. That's what we just did on the other worksheet. However, can I use quadratic formula if it's like this? Nope, got to be standard form. So I need to move this over here by doing the opposite of a 3x, and it moves to the middle. I'm just going to start this one off for you. So it's x squared plus 3x minus 1 now equals 0. Okay? And we just did this on the other worksheet like 3 times. So I'm going to skip this one for now. Okay? Number 9, according to the graph, for how many seconds is the ball in the air? What ball? I don't see no ball. Do you see a ball? No, but this is the path of the ball. Think about it. If you throw a ball to somebody, doesn't it go up in the air and then come back down to them? So how many seconds is the ball in the air? Where are seconds? Look, seconds is down here. So how long was the ball in the air?
3.
The ball was still in the air, still in the air, still in the air until it hit the ground at 3. Thank you. The ball was in the air for 3 seconds. After how many seconds is the ball at a height of exactly 20 feet? Now you're looking for 20 feet. Are you going to look down here for 20 feet? No, this is seconds. You need to look over here for feet where it equals 20. And there's actually 2 places where it equals 20. One of them is at how many seconds? 0.5 seconds. Be careful. 0.5, and then the other one is over here at 2.5 seconds. There's 2 answers for this one. What goes up must come down. So there's 2 answers because at the 20, it touches that 2 times. If you need to pause it, pause it. So now flip it to the back. I'm going to number 16 because this class is running out of time. It says, use the method of completing the square to rewrite this as one of these. This is just like number 4 on the front, because I know you guys got to take it home and do it. This one's just like number 4 on the front. Then if you look at number 14, which of the following correctly shows the quadratic formula being used? You need to make sure that you understand what is A, what is B, and what is C. And you need to use the quadratic formula to make sure the things got plugged in the right places. Remember, it's x equals negative b plus 10 minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So figure out where b needs to go. Figure out where b needs to go again, then the a, then the c, and all that. This one should be pretty easy, and you better get this one right on the test. As long as it's set equal to 0, you should be cool. Number 11 takes it way back. The graph of the quadratic function is shown. This is the quadratic function. Based on the graph, which of the following would be the best estimate of the zeros? Do you know what a 0 is? A 0 is where it touches the what? X-axis. So look for where the parabola touches the x-axis. It touches right here and right here. We're estimating about where is this, about where is this. This is at a little bit after the, if you're going that way, a little bit after the negative 2. So negative 2 point something. Negative 2 point something for that one. Or a little bit before the negative 3. And then this one right here is it after the 1? So it should be 1 point something? No, it's a little bit before the 1. One of them is a positive answer, the other one's negative. So what are you thinking for that one? That one looks like it's like negative 2.5 or 2.6. And then this one looks like it's almost at the 1, which is like, that looks like it's B. All right. This one right here, use your calculator, people. Use the calculator. In the y1, you're going to put x squared minus x. In the y2, you're going to put 12. However, the trick is, what is a reasonable height? If somebody asks you for a height and you ever give them a negative number, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. How tall are you? Oh, I'm negative 5. No, ain't nobody that short, okay? Please, reasonable. That's why it says reasonable. What makes sense? It's either going to be A or C. You can use your calculator for that one. Or you can plug it in. 3 squared is 9, take away 3. Does that give you a 12? Or is it 4 squared is 16, take away 4? Does that give you 12? What should it be? I think that one should be C. Yep, that one should be C. This one right here, hey, there's one just like this on the test. Use quadratic formula. You know what everybody does? They say, oh, 2 is A. B is 7, C is 11. Tell me why that's not right. Thank you. It's not equal to 0. We have to get everything on the same side. So 2x squared is good, but I have to move this negative 7. I'm sorry, positive 7. It will become a negative. Yes. Then this will also change signs and be moved to the other side. So it should be 2x squared minus 7x minus 11. Now it equals 0. Now you can tell me what the A, B, and C are. So then you can plug it into x equals negative blank plus or minus the square root of blank squared minus 4 blank blank all over 2 blank. Plug in where it needs to go. Oh, you say you forgot the quadratic formula? That means you didn't write it when I wrote it over here. See what happens when you don't write it like I said? So go ahead and try to plug it in. If you need to, pause it real quick. So A is 2, B is negative 7, C is negative 11. Yes, you still need to put a negative 7 in there. Negative 7 in there. 2, negative 11, and all over 2A. Next step is to multiply the bottom. That's the easiest part. You're going to end up with a 4. This right here, we plugged in a negative, but the formula already had a negative. Now this is where we use our calculator. Only what's inside of here. Calculate it. See what it equals. Yes, using parentheses. 137, unless I did that wrong. Negative 7 squared minus 4, parentheses 2, parentheses 11. All right, you guys, I'll put this on YouTube. I do not know what the square root of 37 is, but it does tell me to get an exact answer. So I'm just going to use my calculator to put in 7 plus square root of 137 over 4. And then 7 minus square root of 137 over 4. Remember, you can use the alpha y equals to give you a nice little fraction to put in there. If you press alpha y equals, press enter. 7 plus square root of 137 on top, 4 at the bottom. Then you'll get, that's my first answer, 4.68. Then press alpha y equals again, enter. 7 minus square root of 137 over 4, and then I'm getting a negative 1.78. So those will be my two answers for that. Okay. These two down here, yes, you're going to be required to use a method of your choice to do the test questions. So this one right here, I see parentheses. I would use square root method for that one. Or you can try using the calculator to see if the answers are whole numbers. Then this one over here, I would probably use complete the square, because I'm not sure if factoring is going to work, but complete the square should work for that one. I'm going to just put the answers up, so you might want to try it yourself first. Yeah, so this one looks like it will come out to square root of 16, which is plus or minus 4. It's a whole number. So this one comes out pretty good. X equals 1. And this is x equals negative 7. And yes, you could have used calculator for this one because it is whole number. So this one over here, if I want to complete the square, I want to move that over first so I can make room to make that perfect square trinomial. Then that becomes a 1. So if I take my 6 divided by 2, that equals 3, and squared, that is a 9. I'm going to add 9 to both sides. Put that in parentheses. So that's x plus 3 squared equals, add that up, that will give me a 10. This one is not going to be whole number. Square root of 10 is a decimal, which means my answer is going to be in radical form. So I'm going to have x plus 3 equals square root of 10. X plus 3 equals negative square root of 10. So I'm going to end up subtracting 3 from both sides. So it's kind of small right here. Hopefully you can see it. This answer is going to be x equals -3 plus square root of 10. This answer is going to be -3 minus the square root of 10. My paper's all messed up. So those will be your two answers. In decimal form, if you want to see the decimal form, -3 plus square root of 10 is 0.16. So I'm getting x equals 0.16 for the first one. Then the second one is -3 minus square root of 10, -6.16. So that's -6.16. And that should be about it for the test review. Yep. Good luck.